Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
You're one of the weirdest permission slips that I've drawn into my life. I thank you for
Why,
that.
thank you. We are happy to be weird.
You're very colorful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Earlier, the trainee, when he was here, he was talking about fun.
Yes.
And he said everything is fun,
Yes.
only at a different level.
Yes.
How
A
would
different
you
expression.
A different expression.
Yes.
But he used the term fun. So
Yes.
how would you explain, or how would he explain a painful situation such as death or violence?
Death is not a painful situation to us.
What about violence in our planet?
Well, that's not our planet.
So
the idea is you have to understand the causes of what it is you are creating your world to be. And if you don't prefer the results, change the causes. It's that simple.
So when he was talking about the fact that everything is fun, he was only speaking about your reality, not ours.
Well, he was speaking about the way anyone can experience their reality, because it's not about devaluing the things you don't prefer. It's about recognizing that you can make preferential choices without invalidating the things that you don't prefer, and recognize that by staying in that state, you have a much better opportunity of allowing what you don't prefer to be transformed into an experience that you do prefer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
On your planet, you
Yes.
have mentioned that the consciousness of everybody is interconnected.
Well, so is yours. It's just that we know that and operate as if we know that.
So if an individual on your planet has a new experience and it's exciting to them,
Yes.
everybody else on the planet senses that?
Not necessarily. If it's relevant for them to do so, then they will. If it's not, they won't.
Does it affect them, even if they don't sense it?
Not in any way that is irrelevant to their lives.
Okay.
We operate on pure synchronicity. Therefore, all the pieces fit, and each piece receives what it needs to receive as an experience, based on all the individuals within the whole and how the whole supports all the individuals. To some degree, we'll be talking a little bit more in detail about this in your Sunday transmission, The Big Picture, because this is an oversoul perspective.
Okay, so when I sit down and meditate,
Yes.
and I intentionally sit and
As opposed to accidentally sitting.
I set the intention of putting out love into the world to help heal it,
Yes.
does that actually have consequences
Of course it does.
to just the human?
No. It has the ability to be experienced by anyone who prefers to match that frequency, to operate on that level. It reinforces and supports those who have made that choice, and allows you to function as another example of someone who matches that vibration, so that there is a greater experience of the whole for all who also choose to match that frequency.
And those that don't choose, they're not affected by it, they're not touched by it?
Well, they are affected by the choices that they make. It's all based on love, but the idea is that you are so unconditionally loved and so unconditionally supported, you're allowed to believe that you're not unconditionally supported. That's how unconditionally supported you are. Therefore, love can be translated as the experience of not being supported, but the ability to experience not being supported can only happen because you're being unconditionally supported. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So you're always being loved and unconditionally supported, but you can experience it in any way, shape, or form you prefer to, or you choose to. That's how loved you are.
And those that don't experience love
Yes.
the way most people would describe love,
Yes.
it still is a unique experience as for part of the all.
Of course. Because everything is the all. There's nothing outside of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. Does that help?
Yes, I have more.
Yes.
So I have a unique life, and
Yes.
and I understand that we are all part of the all.
Of course.
At some level,
Yes.
me myself as an individual, whether in body or out of body,
Yes.
once I pass on, once I die,
Yes, yes,
will I get to experience the perspective of, say, you or anybody else that's
Yes.
part of the all?
But your version of it.
My version of it.
Yeah, because it's always about you and your perspective. So even the idea, as many people on your planet say, will I ever just blend with God, blend with all that is? Well, yes, but you'll experience that as all that is from your perspective.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Because you are all that is. Everyone is. Therefore, you get to experience all that is as all that is.
Okay.
Does that help?
One more thing.
Yes.
In your description of, I believe it's the 7 steps of manifestation.
Yes.
You towards the end, you describe that you want to imagine it as strongly as possible.
Yes.
Flatten it out, and then just let it go.
Well, yes, because the image that comes up in your visualizations and imaginations as a physical mind is really just a symbol that is there to generate the state of being that then your higher mind can use to manifest what is actually representative of that state of being. Whereas the picture in your physical mind may actually fall quite short of what the higher mind can bring you. That's why it's important to use the image that the physical mind is capable of generating as a symbol to generate the energy, but then let that symbol, let that picture go, because it might not really be representative of the highest manifestation the higher mind could bring you.
And then was there a part there at the end that you said then there is still going to be a remnant of what existed before?
There is always everything that exists. Nothing ever goes away. It's just that you're shifting your focus so that you don't necessarily experience it any longer in the way that you used to. But everything exists. Nothing can become non-existent. You're just shifting your perspective.
The fact that you existed in a different vibration and shifted over to something else
is just a shift of focus. So in other words, we use the analogy of your film strip, yes?
Yes.
You have different frames on the film strip that pass in front of the projector light. So it's just a matter of now shining your projector light through a different frame, but that doesn't mean the frame that was there before is non-existent. You're just not focused through it anymore. But it still exists, and some part of creation is focused through it, just not your perspective.
The fact that we shift over to a new version, a new reality, does the old one have some sort of pull on us?
Not unless you define that it does, because you're defining yourself every single moment. You're shifting billions of times per second, and the only reason you experience the idea you call continuity or connection to the idea of a past is because you're creating that definition in the present. You're making the equation in the present that you still experience something from the so-called past, but you're creating that in the present. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes, and so again, thank you for being a great permission slip.
Thank you.
Thank you.